there will always be watches that split opinions. This brand, well, they're adept at it. But this particular watch, maybe this one is different. Hey guys, I'm Ben Arthur, this is Ben's Watch Club, and here is my review of the Invicta Pro Diver. This watch comes from a brand that is certainly divisive. Invicta dates back to the 19th century, and they have a surprising horological history, which includes producing timepieces for the Soviet Navy at one point. Nevertheless, in recent years, their deviation towards gigantic, elaborate watches, such as those you can see here, have led many people to lose faith in the brand, and I can absolutely see why. I'll save my full thoughts on Invicta for its own separate video, but today we'll be looking at their most popular model, the Pro Diver, which bucks many of the recent design trends and potentially offers great value for money. Introduced in the 1990s, the Invicta 8900 series Pro Diver is one of many Rolex Submariner homage watches that you can get your hands on. The automatic version normally comes in at around or just under the £100 mark on Amazon in the UK, and as the company is US based, you can normally get them even cheaper on Amazon US. They also make a lower priced quartz version, but personally I wouldn't recommend that one. By the end of the video, if you like the sound of this watch, then I'll leave a link to it in the video description. Purchases made through the link also help to support my channel and are always highly appreciated. Spec-wise, the Pro Diver comes in with a diameter of 40mm, a depth of 14mm, a lug-to-lug size of 48mm, with a band width of 20mm. Very similar to the Rolex Submariner. It also has fully stainless steel construction, with mineral crystal glass covering the surface, and contained within is a Seiko NH35A automatic movement. This watch also offers 200 meters of water resistance if that's something you're bothered about. This watch arrived in this surprisingly good yellow box. While the loud colour may not appeal to everyone, it's of unexpectedly good quality. The materials used are soft and plush. I've seen far worse packaging provided with watches at double this price, so it's certainly a nice touch. Clearly, the design of this watch is far from unique. This diver takes massive inspiration from the Rolex Submariner, with many aspects of the watch looking virtually identical. This has led to many watch enthusiasts rightly calling this Invicta's cheap copy of the Rolex Submariner. There are several variants and colours of this watch available, with the coin edge bezel versions being the ones that closest resemble the Submariner look. The case is constructed of stainless steel with a mixture of brushed and polished surfaces, both of which are done to an impressive standard considering the price. This is built with near identical proportions to the Submariner, whose size is often touted as being fantastically versatile for many wrists. Due to the fractionally larger lug-to-lug size though, I do think that the Pro Diver wears fractionally larger than the sizing suggests. However, on my skinny 6¼ inch wrists, I think it still looks quite good, though in an ideal world, I wish they had a 38mm variant. Still, Invicta have left their mark on this watch, both figuratively and literally. A frustration that many people have with this watch is the Invicta logo engraved into the left side of the case. This is something that I thought had the potential to ruin the watch. However, it's been less of a factor than I anticipated. The engraving itself is very accurately done, but more importantly, tends to be concealed by my sleeve during wear. As a result, I usually forget that it's even there. Thankfully, this engraving isn't placed on the right flank of the watch, as on its much larger Grand Diver counterpart, whose markings are far more visible. Overall though, I'd say the case is better than I expected. It certainly feels weighty and high quality. To aid with the diving capability of this watch, it also features a signed screw-down crown. I found this one to be really grippy and easy to operate. It allows you to set the time and hand wind the watch with no issues. The crown guards, which cover a portion of the crown, will also provide some protection from glancing blows. Inside this watch is the venerable Seiko NH35A automatic movement, which is also viewable through the nice exhibition case back. This is a quality, accurate movement, which you'll often find in many microbrand watches, many times the price of this Invicta. This one even features a yellow custom Invicta rotor, which I think is a nice touch, and it's a welcome addition in a watch that otherwise lacks personality. Given the watch has a stated 200 meters of water resistance, you should have no issues when swimming or during daily tasks, which is a bonus. The bezel on this model has adequate grip and is easy to turn with a satisfying click. If this feature matters to you, I'd certainly recommend the coin edge bezel version, as the alternative scallop version tends to lack grip. Notably, there is some back play when compared to higher quality dive watches that I've tried before. But chances are with this kind of watch, you're not going to be doing any deep sea diving anyway. The dial is covered by mineral crystal glass, which, whilst not as scratch resistant as sapphire, is absolutely expected at this price point, so I've got no complaints. While it is quite reflective, I find myself still able to read the dial in most situations. As you can imagine, as a homage watch, the design is essentially the same as the Submariner. You've got a near identical set of hands, with the second hand featuring quite a cool Invicta logo, and the bezel is also similarly designed. Overall, to an untrained eye, it looks pretty much like a Rolex. Aside from the obvious difference when it comes to the logo, there are a few things to note with the Pro Diver. Firstly, the hour markers are smaller than some other Submariner homages, and feature a slightly yellowy green tinge. These are applied and add some nice depth to the watch. Additionally, the dial sits slightly deeper in the watch than pictures may indicate, resulting in a relatively thick chapter ring which, whilst not necessarily bad, isn't really to my preference. I prefer something slightly slimmer, like that found in the Jeanneau Ocean Rover. While it's far from unique, I think it's still an attractive watch to look at. There's a reason the Submariner design is copied so often, is because it just works. This watch does feature lume on the hands, hour markers, and at the 12 o'clock position on the bezel. I would say its performance is very average compared to what I've tried before, and it does fade relatively quickly. However, once again, it's hard to expect more at this price point. The bracelet is both good and bad. Outside of the hollow end links, the bracelet comprises of solid stainless steel links with alternating brushed and polished finishes. Whilst slightly jangly, these are of fantastic quality for the price. They're weighty and they work well with the aesthetic of the watch. Unfortunately, the fold over clasp is nothing special. It functionally serves its purpose, but is a step down in quality from the rest of the bracelet. So that's a rundown of what you can really expect with this watch. Now, what are my pros and cons with this one? What's good? What's not so good? Let's take a look. Firstly, I like the choice of movement in this watch. As I mentioned earlier, it's rare that you'll find a Seiko NH35A and a watch of this sort of price. This has become an increasingly popular movement, especially in loads of micro brand watches. It's accurate and reliable, so I think they've done a good job there. Also, the overall quality of the case and the bracelet I think is really good. One of the points that Invicta try and push a lot on their website is how they can offer really good quality goods for the price. And I think for this model that's true. I think that the construction of this is pretty good, and it's certainly better than the price would indicate. Also, you've got that Submariner sizing. This design is popular because it's very versatile. This works on a variety of different wrist sizes. It might be slightly too big for my wrist, but I think the average guy will have no problems with this one. And while the lug-to-lug size is fractionally larger than the Submariner, it's not massively different. It's not going to be one of those watches where the lugs extend past the width of your wrist. And I think one of the key points here is the overall pricing and how this watch looks like a much more expensive watch. That's part of the whole package that Invicta probably planned with this one. But overall, I have to say, this watch does look like one that's normally about twice the price. The finishing is surprisingly good, and I'm impressed that they've managed to put this package together for this cost. I'd say as long as you're paying anywhere under about 110, 120 pounds for this watch in the UK, you're still doing alright, but it'll likely be even cheaper than that on Amazon. Now, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. An obvious con of the Invicta Pro Diver is the unoriginal design. This watch looks like a knockoff Rolex Submariner, and if you were to get one of these, that's something that you've got to accept. This watch isn't really bringing anything new to the table. Also, you've got the fact that it's got that Invicta engraving down the left side, and whilst personally I don't really care about this, there are definitely people out there who do. There's videos out there showing you how you can erode that out of your watch. Hopefully this video is giving you some good shots to see what it actually looks like. And then I do think that the polishing on the watch, it may divide opinions. I think this watch does look a little bit blingy, especially some of the other colour variants where you've got gold and silver mixed together. You've got a real mix of that brushed and polished surfaces. It might not be to everyone's taste. But overall, the question is, should you buy one? Well, if you're after a low-cost watch that looks like a Rolex, that still retains a decent amount of quality, then this watch could be exactly what you're looking for. The slowly increasing prices of the Pro Diver are indicative that this model offers good value for money, and it's certainly increasing in popularity online. While this brand does offer some truly bizarre timepieces, with its Seiko movement and great build quality for the cost, it's unsurprising that the Pro Diver is still selling well. It's a watch I definitely recommend considering. Product links are in the description if you want to pick one up. And before I go, it's time to look at the wall of watches, because last episode you voted on where we were putting the Casio A158. And it's cool to see so many people voting, but it was pretty unanimous decision with this one. The comments and the votes in the iCard almost all agreed that this should go in the cool section. And I think that's pretty fair, so that's exactly where we're putting this one. And now I ask you the same question again. And I don't think this one is going to be so cut and dry. Which section are we putting the Invicta Pro Diver in? Is it
low quality Chinese garbage,
uncool, cool, or ice cold? I think the watch itself is good, but maybe the brand might bring it down a few. Let me know your thoughts anyway, I'm not telling you what to think. If you enjoyed the video, please like it and share it with someone that might like this watch, and I'll see you in the next one, boys.